And now on BBC One, time for more accident-prone adventures in the crazy world of Robert Kubica.
He runs with scissors, he's broken mirrors, he cuddles adders, walks under ladders, he juggles chainsaws, doesn't come from Warsaw, he's Robert Kubica.
Hello.
Well, Mr. Kubica, good news. Your leg seems to be on the mend, so we're sending you home.
Thank you, doctor.
And please, just take it easy. Don't do anything that could result in another injury, otherwise you'll never get back to competitive driving.
Don't worry, doctor. I'll be very careful. No more juggling chainsaws, no more fighting poisonous monkeys. I take it very easy. To stay completely safe, I have booked a nice, relaxing cruise around the Italian coastline.
Robert Kubica.
Hello and welcome to Gareth Jones on Speed. Apologies for the lack of joy in my voice. I usually start the show quite happy, don't I? But no, I can't. I've just got to sound a bit grim, really. As has Zog. Do you sound grim, Zog?
I think so, yeah.
Richard, are you a bit,
Yeah, moderately, yeah.
We're talking about the Peugeot announcement of this week, that Peugeot has withdrawn from endurance racing immediately. That's how it said. That's how it happened. And that's how the news came out. It was like, we're not going to pull out in 6 months' time. We're not going to pull out after Le Mans. We're not going to pull out the end of this season. That's it, bang on now. How crap is this news?
It's pretty horrible. If you're a fan of sports car racing, a fan of Le Mans, it takes the heart out of the competition this year, really.
It does a bit, doesn't it? There'll still be a race at Le Mans. I'm sure it'll be quite good, but it's just feeling that there was always this great Scottish Premiership style battle at the front between two titans, and everyone else sort of followed in the wake a little bit, and now one of them's gone. So what we're left with is Rangers just out there kicking the ball into someone else's goal repeatedly.
You're deprived of the main battle at the front of the field.
I think,
because really, Audi are going to be the only manufacturer, they're going to be the only diesel car.
I think the analogy might work better if they were Celtic with Alan McNish at the wheel. I think Alan McNish might be on the Celtic side of the... I could be wrong, but
We'll look into that.
Yeah, that'd be nice to know,
all
wouldn't
the
it?
news that matters here on Gareth on Speed. Which foot does Alan McNish kick with, to use that? I can't even remember how that works with that particular.
I don't care.
But it's not a football one, is it? But people always go, "Oh yeah, he's a left footer," and it relates to
do with that, whether you're Catholic or Protestant.
Is that insulting? I should probably check that as well.
No, it's not insulting. You're describing how you understand a particular aspect.
But that is a figure of speech that I've heard many times. He's a left footer or he's a right footer, whatever.
Anyway. I think they're talking about braking in motorsport, aren't they? He's a left foot. Barrichello was the last of the left foot breakers.
Does that? I really should look this up. But does left footing mean that you're Catholic or Protestant? Do you know?
I don't know,
because we could rename it.
Probably depends who's saying it, because left-handedness, left-footedness, leftedness tends to be associated with the devil because it's odd. Yeah, there you go.
Literally.
Look, no, I'm not having that as our token lefty. I'm not going to take this. I have enough trouble using.
You're not a left hooker.
Yes, I am.
What?
How long have I known you and you've never noticed? Mind you, when do you ever see me writing?
True enough.
I use a computer. But have you noticed how well I change gear in a right-hand drive car?
That is nice.
Oh, yeah. And that's why it's good being left-handed in the UK and Australia and Japan.
So, Peugeot...
Manual cars only. I was just going to say, if we call it left-foot braking from now on, we could call it Protestant braking. I don't know where that's going.
Can I just read...
Sorry, yes.
Can I read the Peugeot statement? I will read in the style of a Peugeot.
It's quite long.
I'll give you a headline.
Yeah.
After 14 victories in the last 16 races, including a double at the Le Mans 24 Hours 2009, as part of the ILMC Championship won by Peugeot 2 years running in 2010 and 2011, the brand Capital B. See that?
Yeah, I know. That actually was the thing. I'll come back to this.
Has decided to close its 2012 endurance program and will not be taking part in the next Le Mans 24 hours. Yeah, we worked that out. And it goes on to say about they're going to carry on pushing the brand up market and marketing their hybrid diesel cars, which would have really benefited from doing well at Le Mans. Discuss?
Well, I mean, surely Audi being up market, which they are. I mean, it used to be, didn't they? Audi, they certainly weren't considered in the same breath as Mercedes or BMW, and now they are sort of part of this holy trinity of German prestige makes.
Yeah.
And it hasn't done them any harm doing this, oh, look how technically advanced we are, because we constantly win Le Mans, apart from when we don't. And I suppose it's just a money thing.
Well, I'm sure
that's all it is. It's just money, isn't it? Surely.
I think
and it has all. I don't know any ins and outs of this, but it just has all the hallmarks of being something that's been forced on them by economic circumstances and a decision being taken fairly high up in the company that no, we just can't justify spending this money right now. You've got to shut that program down.
Yeah.
The fact that it's not announced 6 months, 12 months ahead of time, the fact that it's so abrupt.
What's odd is, I don't know whether I just wasn't paying attention, but there seemed to have been no inkling about this. It just happened.
No. Well, there was none outside of Peugeot, but speaking to people at Peugeot, saying it in the American French way now. Canadian way,
Peugeot?
Peugeot. Yeah, what's that guy on Radio Le Mans who talks about the Peugeot in the middle of the night? Yeah, what's his name? The other guy who's not...
He's not John Hine.
Can't remember.
Shut Hine.
Yeah, him.
His American cousin.
Harvey Weinberger. Very American name. Within Peugeot, they had an idea that it was going to go at some point, well, it was inevitable is what I've heard, but they didn't know it was going to happen bang immediately. I think they thought, well, this is going to be the last Le Mans. We might not make the end of the season, but we'll hang on to Le Mans. I guess most of your money goes into the cost of Le Mans, which is not a cheap race to prepare for, really, is it?
Well, how much was entering...
ILMC, WEC?
WEC.
Yeah. Don't know what the cost is, but running the cars in it. And the biggest attention given to the ILMC, which is now the WEC, is in America. Do Peugeot really sell cars in America?
No, they don't. They haven't since the 405 of the 80s. Although, oddly, they kept, and I don't know if it's still the case, I'd love to know if it is, but for a while after they withdrew from selling cars in the US, they still used to source components over there, and they maintained an office in, I think, a part of New Jersey.
Peugeot!
Yeah, Peugeot in New Jersey. And they didn't want their employees, only a small office, but they didn't want the people who worked there, who were entitled to a company car, driving around in something else. They don't have any affiliated manufacturers in the way that,
Renault does with Nissan.
Exactly. There's some way in which, if you work for if there was some distant Renault branch office in Wisconsin, everyone could still have a Nissan Maxima and hold up the corporate end. No such luck for Peugeot, so they used to ship 405s and 306s over there.
No.
And they were allowed to run them for a period of 6 months, something like that.
Or a year, maybe.
There used to be a cheat whereby if it had been out of the country and come back in again, you could keep it there. So they used to drive them up to Canada and back.
Right.
Just to reset the manufacturer's temporary licence plate on it.
So we'd have to go to Quebec, of course.
Yes, I guess so. Yeah, they might as well just go there and stock up on garlicky things.
That's right. And horse.
And horse.
So
I don't know if this is...
Sorry, friends.
HORSE, not WH.
Yeah. Just in deep on this one now. Anyway, I don't know if that's still true. I don't know if... someone told me a story years ago. Once again, I should probably have checked this, but I've just been reminded of it, that yes, if you ever on the eastern seaboard of the US and you saw a Peugeot 306 and you were baffled by it, that might have been the answer.
Didn't Colombo drive a Peugeot?
He did, yes. I think it was a 206.
It was an old convertible.
I've seen that car.
Have you?
I went to Universal Studios in LA years ago, and I was part of their studio tour back when it probably was a studio tour and not some kind of glorified amusement park.
Yeah.
It was just parked in a yard, and we drove past it on the little bus thing.
Smell of cigars, did it?
Did he smoke cigars, Colombo?
He did, yeah.
One more thing,
yeah.
We've drifted quite spectacularly off topic.
No, we're still talking Peugeot. Peugeot. I'm really miffed, and I'm slightly worried for Audi, really, because I think Audi really relished having that challenge. It forced them into designing. I think they've probably had 3 redesigns of their car in the last 3 years as a result of the Peugeot presence. But if you remember the period before that, what have we had, like 9 Audi wins now? We probably had like 4 in a row,
9 out of 11.
Peugeot came
Well,
along.
and you need a good competitor to make it worth your while running a big, expensive program. You can't justify a program like that if you've got no competition.
Can I congratulate Peugeot on their wonderful contribution to the Le Mans race, which did make it great. It really did. And when they won in 2009, I think I've said this before, remember standing in that start-finish straight in the stand and 250,000 probably Frenchmen sang La Marseillaise, like tears running down my face. I sang along with them despite not knowing any of the words. I sang my heart out. Even I was proud to be French on that day. Great, thank you, Peugeot.
Now, here's the thing though, if the Audi has no real competition at the front, is it conceivable they could now knock back their budget? Because their biggest spend must have been on trying to get more pace out of the car and then having to test it to make sure that commensurate increase in pace was matched with reliability. Now they can stick with the existing stuff they've got, knowing that it's dependable and safe in the knowledge they don't need extra performance out
Turn
of
the
it.
whip down just a little.
I don't know. I could be misunderstanding the way in which they would attack this. But conceivably, you go, hang on a minute.
And also they could put a bit more money maybe into whatever they're doing on the hybrid front.
Well, this is what I was about to say. It stops the race from becoming a sprint, a series of sprints, which is what it had become recently. It returns to being an endurance, just make it go, efficiently. And the presence of Toyota bringing petrol hybrids to the race, Audi apparently yet to make a decision over whether they'll run petrol hybrids, a diesel hybrid, or a diesel engine car. I mean, they can do whatever they flipping well want to now.
Well, this year, I mean, where's the pressure?
Could Toyota do it? Because you know who's running the team for Toyota, don't you?
No.
Orica are running the cars for Toyota, very much in the same way that Yoast run the cars for Audi. Similar sort of team setup. Can they win it in the first year? No.
No. So there we go. Anyway, I look forward to seeing Audi win Le Mans this year.
Yeah, well done.
And here we go. The start of the world's greatest endurance race is just seconds away. The pace car now crosses the line and peels off as the clock towards 3 o'clock, and they're off. Le Mans 2012 is go, and all the cars are away except for the Audis, who have stopped, and the drivers are getting out and they're strolling back to the pit garage. And Alan McNish he's putting the kettle on and he's making a brew. And Mike Rockefeller there turning on a television set, and he's laid down on a sofa with a massive bag of crisps, and it looks like he's watching the tennis for some reason. But what's this? It's Tom Christensen, Audi driver extraordinaire, getting into an Audi A4 estate and heading off to the nearest town to the cinema. And oh no, he's planning to watch The Artist, and that's a very long film. I hope he can come back after that one. Let's catch up with the rest of the pack. Oh, there's the Toyota Hybrid. It's coasting on the downhill stretches to recharge the batteries. Let's see what's going on in the Audi pit. Oh no, McNish is putting a roast in the oven. That's going to take at least an hour and a half to cook during what promises to be a really quite boring Le Mans 24-hour race.
Sniff Petrol with Gareth Jones on speed!
If you go to the GarethJones.tv website, you look at the page within the Gareth Jones on Speed stuff for this particular episode, you will see a Peugeot 908 in our own team colours, the Gareth Jones on Speed / Sniff Petrol colours, which a listener called Alex Odell created for us. That's just wonderful. Seeing a car in your own colours is a mighty thing. Apparently Peugeot have said that they're not going to allow anyone to run their cars. No customer team thing ain't going to happen. But can you imagine what it'd be like if we did run our team? You know,
Well-
if we took on the might of Audi.
We might manage to get a couple of laps further than the Japanese Lamborghini. That would be.
I think that's one of the things when you go into an endeavour like that, you have to have a goal, an aim. An ultimate victory may slip through our grasp, but
Maybe.
staying out there longer
Maybe.
than the Japanese Lamborghini,
I think we could do
would be
that. I think that's the kind
superb.
of goal we could hit. At,
Wouldn't you
we could
love
do
it,
that.
though?
Well, I think obviously we'd have to hire a Nui as one of our drivers.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
yes.
And who else would we have for just for
Well, you'd ask
comedy?
come and get on with
you'd
this.
ask
I'd get Damon.
Damon Hill,
yeah,
wouldn't you? Just
I'd have
'cause-
Damon.
John and Lacey, I think.
Oh, that's good. Yeah.
I quite
Johnny Herbert would
I feel a
help
bit
us out.
stupid now for just picking a comedy driver rather
Oh no,
than someone who could be quite
we're
handy.
picking. We pick one of our favourite drivers.
Okay.
And
And
All right.
which
Later
one of
in
us
the
three
so-
would you put in that car? Because one of us would have to do it.
me.
Oh, really? Go on.
You.
Yeah, absolutely.
You've got the racing driver physique as well.
It's true.
Yeah.
You're the right
True. I don't
I don't
stature.
think I'd probably fit.
Although I'm not at all confident that actually, if we had a lap time shooter, I'm really not at all sure that I'd turn out to
I
be
get really
the quickest.
bored driving around tracks, I'll be honest. I understand how Jarno truly feels, because he used to he'd qualify all right, and sometimes he'd start quite well, and then midway through the race he'd get incredibly bored.
Yeah.
I can only assume he got incredibly bored, because he would go right off, and I think I understand. He's just like, I've been here before. Oh, I've been here before. And then also, when you go go-karting or something like that, which I signally manage to miss every time, every
Karting.
year.
Go-karting. Go-karts don't have engines, they rely on gravity. Karting, you have engines.
All right. So, when you go karting, there's that bit where sometimes I just get a bit bored and then someone starts trying to overtake you, and I always want to just stop across the track and get out and go, look, just leave me alone.
I'm having a nice time.
Okay,
Yeah,
we're
exactly, 'cause
not
you
not putting you in the car in that.
All
case.
right, yeah, I think I've taught
we're not
myself
gonna
out of
have
that,
kind of
so-
behaviour.
Actually, can I just volunteer myself as the driver on very good endurance racing grounds? I've beaten David Brabham on a lap-to-lap basis in the Johnny Herbert karting challenge. And David Brabham has won Le Mans, possibly even twice, certainly once. I would vote for me in the car, but then again I would.
Were the carts definitely evenly matched, would you say? Was anyone being held up at any point during the lap? I'm just
Was he even in a
testing
cart?
to...
Well, there was that.
Was he running furiously around, and he got a bad
Well, he just hadn't turned up, basically.
Well, that's a DNF straight there, then.
No, I
isn't it?
did actually race against him and beat him in a few
Okay.
laps. I did, but enough.
Well, hang on a minute. I reserve the right to be able to have a go in our Le Mans car.
Okay.
If it
Oh,
looks
yeah,
like
yeah,
you
yeah,
two are
yeah,
having
no.
too much fun out there, because I'm only going to get jealous.
When we get the funds for our Le Mans
Yeah.
effort together,
Yeah.
we're going to have to do this little challenge for real. So,
Yeah.
yeah, that's...
But failing that,
It's gonna
I don't
happen.
know. I would happily drive the lorry down there. I assume we've got a lorry.
We're going to need one.
Yeah.
We're not-
You know, I've
you can't-
always wanted to drive a big lorry. So I've driven a small lorry and it was
Yeah.
brilliant. So
Yeah.
I'd like to drive a big lorry now, please.
Are you going to have sort of trucking songs?
Might have some country and western.
Yeah. Well,
My guilty pleasure,
That's
so-
a bit of country western. That's a good thing anyway. I've come round to that point.
Yeah.
Of view. But I'm not quite seeing the appeal of driving a big truck. I don't know.
Really?
Oh, come
that'd be
on!
mega.
The best dream
I don't know,
I ever had in my whole life, the most tactile, realistic dream I ever had, was a dream some 30 years ago of driving, a 16-wheel articulated lorry from my dad's shop up the hill in Penamice in Holywell in North Wales, past the windmill, past the left-handed, and having to go wide and do that thing that truckers do with passing the wheel through like that, and the big swing round, and got to the top of the hill, top of Penamice in Holywell, where we used to live. I used to live in a road called Prince of Wales Avenue, and to get that 16-wheel truck in there, I had to swing really wide to the right and then pull it left, and then there still wasn't enough lock when I came to reverse into our drive, so with full lock I was bumping, and this was all in the dream. It was the most satisfying dream.
So you had a dream that you were doing someone else's quite difficult job.
Delivery
Yes,
job. In a 16
That's basically it.
Yeah.
You could have equally dreamt that you were a tax accountant.
I
or
dreamt
something.
you were in Namibia last night.
I was in Namibia last night. How did you know that?
Oh, this is weird.
This is getting very spooky.
Really?
Can I just reassure you that I didn't dream you were in Namibia last night? That
No.
wasn't what happened.
That's just
Anyway,
strange.
I'm wondering what influenced the fact that the FIA are now sort of involved in endurance racing, bringing it back home, has caused Peugeot to move out. Jean Todt is now involved with the WEC, and Jean Todt's record's not been fab. He hasn't done very much in Formula One, has he? No, hands off. leave it alone, I don't touch, right? And the WRC is sort of almost collapsed around our ears. There was a statement from Citroën the other day saying that they're staying with it, which is good news, because I was worried that they could follow Peugeot out. But they haven't got a promoter for the WRC at the moment.
Yeah, and something very dodgy happened there, didn't there?
I didn't
really quite follow this, but...
The bloke who owned the company who owned North One Sport, who were the promoters of the WRC, TV rights and events and things, was arrested by Interpol for some dodgy fraud and embezzlement somewhere. So that company went bust. John Todd didn't do a deal to find a promoter. The first race at the Monte was promoted by some bloke in a caravan, I think, who lives in Lyon, I think, really. And they've had to use the club's timing devices. I mean, it really...
It's so Mickey Mouse, isn't it?
It's shocking.
Blimey, yeah.
Which is a shame, because the FIA, they're a powerful, wealthy organisation and can do big stuff. Have you been following Formula E, either of you? Do you know about Formula E?
I mean, a little bit. I mean, obviously, it's an interesting... it's the FIA-backed plan for an electric racing formula starting from 2013.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting to see how that series goes.
Well, Lord Drayson was showing a car, a proper Le Mans racer.
Drayson was very early in sort of getting in on,
green racing.
Was a very early supporter of, green racing generally, but also Formula E in particular.
Well,
I'm sorry, that something was really bothering me about that Formula E, and I knew it, and I just looked it up. I cheated for once, and I looked something up. Formula E was the model designation of very economical versions of the Volkswagen Polo back in the 80s.
Formel E,
which is German
slightly
for Formula
smaller wing mirrors.
Did they have slightly smaller wing mirrors?
Slightly smaller wing mirrors.
I didn't know that. I remember. Did they have a? They had a 4+E gearbox.
That's it.
It was a 5-speed box, but they just labelled fifth as E because it was meant to be economical.
So you can enter that in the new FIA.
Well, I'd like to give it a go, see what happens.
Well, if you change a couple of letters, you say Formula.
Well, that's just, it was just Formula E in German, so it's the same deal. I would see them in court over that one. I think they'd probably go no because you've got a small 1-litre hatchback from the 80s.
And it's therefore clearly not a racing series. Yeah. No one's going to be confused.
Yeah.
But we haven't heard very much about this Formula E, or Formel E, apart from Drayson supporting a bid to have a race in the Olympic Park.
Yeah.
Next year.
Which actually sounds like quite a good idea.
Was it less than 2 miles from here? I would love a big proper motor race just up the road, even if it was with electric cars, which don't make an interesting
I was going to say, could you hear it from here? But electric cars, could you? That's the thing.
You want all the publicity you can get. You want to give people all the reasons you can to get them to watch it. And, okay, granted, this is partly from my perspective as a London-based motorsport fan, but, a race in London, fantastic. That's going to really help the series, no question. And they do need to find stuff to do with all of those Olympic facilities once the Olympics over.
Yeah.
So, this sounds like a good one to me.
And electric cars racing in cities makes sense because, that's the first use of an electric car, because let's face it, you can't go up the motorway in them. They are city cars. So to have an electric car race in a city makes... Okay, you can go 100 miles up a motorway until we have these supercapacitors which are allowed to do 300 miles.
Or swap a battery, or have a top-up, have a range extender motor.
And the noise thing, up to now we've always been a bit, motor racing's not going to be the same without the noise. But what happens when you go to Le Mans and the Peugeots and the Audis? Well, the Peugeots used to go past. They make this noise, don't they? And you don't really hear the engine. You hear a low-frequency rumble. You hear the wind. You hear the tyre noise. You might hear the
transmission. You hear the tyres. You hear the wind noise, as you say. Yeah, it's not quite true that you don't hear the engines at all because, as we well know from standing particularly close by the corners, you actually hear some fantastic banging and popping as they're kind of coming into the corners. You get some beautiful turbine sucking noises. The noise of all of that air being sucked in and compressed and channeled. There's a kind of jet fighter-like sound that happens when those cars approach the corners.
But bear in mind that it's at Le Mans where they've got long straights and they can build up a real head of steam, and that creates that great air rushing noise. And on a small circuit inside an Olympic stadium, you wouldn't. And things at the Race of Champions, when you get those rally cars going around, it is all that sort of very low speed, but low gear as well, popping and banging that you say.
Yeah,
An electric car, I think it will be pretty quiet.
It will be quiet, I'm sure. Yeah,
they've got to be
quieter,
short circuits, haven't they?
But it won't be silent.
Sorry, that wasn't an electrical pun, it wasn't. No. And they've got to be short circuits.
Well, but hang on, but Melbourne and Canada are both in city park facilities, essentially, where they're using a layout in some sort of park that is presumably akin to the Olympic Park. I don't know quite how big that Olympic Park is, but it's got to be pretty big, hasn't it? I'm just saying that, it probably will be a shorter race than a lot of other races, but the Olympic Park's pretty big. You presumably could do something over the size of maybe Canada, maybe Melbourne.
Oh, see, I
maybe not. I don't know about that.
That's not the case. It's not.
I don't know.
No, stadium is too small. No, it's Olympic Park.
First pit stop. He's been in there for 4 hours now. He's got 50% charge. Surely this is going to lose him. The audience have gone home. What are they going to do?
Well, I don't know. Being as it's so close to here anyway, and if they do make it work, then I think we'd be happy to give them a plug.
Yeah.
Hey.
Oh,
I see what you did there.
And you join us here in London for the very first race of this new race series, Formula E. An unusual venue for motorsport, this central London, and as the drivers form up on the grid, we can see the cars are equally unusual. The door mirrors, for instance, slightly smaller than normal, and if you look closely you can see that the 4+ gear lever visible through the glass of the Brent Van-shaped hatchback, but oh bollocks.
Gareth Jones on speed.
I don't sound like, bring out your dead, ring the death knell again, but it's been a disappointing motorsport thing going on, the Peugeot pull out, the disaster with the WRC, then you come to Formula 1 and there's more bad news, and I hand on my heart, it is bad news, that Rubens Barrichello doesn't have a drive, and Bruno Senna does. Bruno's a capable driver.
Well, the shame is that he's knocking Barrichello out of the way.
That's the problem.
Carrying on his F1 career, and good luck to him in the Williams. But yeah, it's a shame to see Barrichello go. I think anyone who's a fan of the sport and has any sort of feel for what kind of the drivers are like, and you get a sense of their personalities, you can't help but love Barrichello.
Yeah. Anyone who cries on a podium, he's all right. I wouldn't be quite that sort of... But I mean...
he's just a nice bloke. He seems like a genuinely nice...
Actually, I'm taking that back. Schumacher cried on the podium once, didn't he?
Yes, but if you look closely, he had an onion in one of his pockets.
Right.
Yeah, but Barrichello, good guy. And
one less Scotsman in Formula 1.
Yeah, that's true. An honory Scots.
Hey!
So I don't know. I am quite sad about that, though, because
it was inevitable. He's
it's just one of those ones where you'd like these people like that, particularly someone who seems such a nice, decent bloke, that it'd be good if he was allowed to do it with dignity and say he was quitting rather than trying to hang on in there and then finding he hasn't got a seat.
Yeah,
it's just a little bit less of a dignified way to leave the sport.
Yeah, fair point.
The time of going to press, there was a faint whisper in the ether, the Ethernet. What was it that Douglas Adams called eddies in the ether? There was a suggestion of a third driver option at a Woking-based Formula 1 team. But between me saying this and the programme being published, that will have changed 4 times. That's all I heard, this slight distant hum of that from Woking.
But also, if you were Barrichello, would you want to hang around and be third driver for somebody? Surely, once he's lost the race seat, surely it's time to put his feet up and enjoy himself for a bit.
But I have got a lot I can bring to Formula 1. I still have the passion. I love it when he does that. It's passion.
I do
His
think
whole face goes.
He's got, though, something to fall back on, because he could definitely be the voice of an animated character in some Pixar movie about animals.
Madagascar 3.
Madagascar 3.
Oh, yeah,
He'd play like a killer whale, because he's got that weird... He's got too many teeth, hasn't he? Looks like he sifts krill out of water.
Yeah, I don't know. I can see him. Water buffalo, maybe.
Barrichello is a water buffalo.
No,
come on.
I don't know. I see it more as some kind of little, like a bird of some
I
sort.
see him
with
as
a big forehead, a four-headed bird, like not an eagle. But
see him
similar.
as a big South American, slightly lazy cat. I live in a tree, a lynx or something. Do we have lynx in South America?
I think they...
I'm not sure, but no, they have jaguars down there, and possibly ocelots. Maybe he should be an ocelot. They keep coming back to the Williams and finding him. What?
How do you titillate an ocelot?
You oscillate it a lot.
Oscillate its a lot.
I was guessing. Is that the technical
You were
answer?
close.
That's very good.
That is the correct answer.
So anyway,
Rubens
the cat. There's
Rubens
a cartoon series in the making.
Voiceover.
Or Rubens the
But
ocelot.
we welcome Bruno Senna, who's a champion, lovely lad. By gum, he was great with us when we interviewed him in these GP2 days at iSport.
Yeah,
him and Karun.
Yeah.
They were fab lads. But I just don't think he's quick enough. He's very smart. He's a very intelligent lad. You can hear in his conversation that's going to help him out, you know?
Yeah, but he hasn't set the world alight in F1 yet. He hasn't yet looked like he's going to be the next guy to be snapped up by one of the front-running teams.
Well, that's it. It's back to the old Williams problem, isn't it? They're not a front-running team, and therefore they can't really attract someone who has future world championship branded on his forehead. Do they still do that? I can't remember. No,
Yeah,
they
they
stopped,
do,
didn't
yeah.
they? Because it's painful.
No. Mansell insisted they had it done.
No, he had it done himself one day, and then just came in the factory and went, "Look what I've had done, lads, now." Oh, God. So I get makeup. Get some makeup. It's embarrassing.
Did I mention I'm a world champion now, lads? Look, it's branded on
I've
my
literally
forehead.
been knocked unconscious.
Literally. Bless him. Oh, dear. Should we welcome Senna? Also, have you ever met people who walk into a room, something happens, and suddenly someone says, "What just happened?" You know, there's someone I know who says that. What just happened? And like this whole reactive suspension banning in Formula One at the moment, I feel like saying, What just happened?
What just happened? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. They've banned space
I
aliens from driving in Formula One. You go,
Pretty
what? Hang on,
much,
space,
yeah.
run that by me again?
Yeah.
When were there space in the first place?
Did I miss
didn't
that?
see that
Yeah.
happening.
They've called in an old rule, haven't they? Oh no, you can't have that because it's an aerodynamic device. Now, is it an aerodynamic device? I don't really understand what it is. All I know is that it stops dive under braking.
Yes.
It keeps the pitch the same.
Exactly, yeah. And Lotus were using it. Lotus Renault were using it.
Ferrari were said to have got some way
testing
towards
anyway.
making one work.
Yeah,
Really?
well, as I understand it, what it was doing, and from the description that I'd read, I can see why there would be some confusion about why this might be a movable aerodynamic device or not, or why you could interpret it in a couple of ways. Yeah, what it's doing is doing clever stuff with the front suspension to push the front of the car back up as it's diving under braking. But what it's doing, it's not using the aerodynamics to trigger this or to make it happen. What it's doing is using what is happening in the movement of the suspension to produce a reaction in the
So
in the
every
suspension
action
itself.
has an equal and opposite reaction that's now been banned.
Kind of, yes. Newton has been banned. That's kind of what...
All physics have been banned. From now on, Formula One teams will have to use witchcraft, which I believe Virgin have used unsuccessfully as of HRT for the last 3 years.
No, they've just got a gypsy's curse on them.
That's brilliant. That was Richard Porter.
Goodbye.
This was Zog.
Goodbye.
I was Gareth Jones, and this was Gareth Jones on Speed.
To send us an email, see pictures, get song lyrics, join our Facebook fan site or follow us on Twitter, go to garethjones.tv.
And as we see one of the Toyota drivers sticking it into sixth, even though he's going quite slowly to try and conserve fuel, the tight back to the Audi pit. Where's Dindo Capello? There's no sign of him there at all, and we're just getting word that he's gone to the airport and got on a flight to Miami for a nice relaxing holiday. But he swears he'll still be back in time for Audi to win this extremely tedious Le Mans 24-hour 2012.
Gareth Jones on Speed is made in London by Whizbang.
Gareth Jones on Speed!